Welcome to the world now on TVC News. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Today's UNICEF Red Hand Day. It's marked to give attention to the plight of children recruited to fight wars as child soldiers. Thousands of boys and girls are used as soldiers, cooks, spies, and more in armed conflicts around the world. Senior correspondent Jacqueline Ogo takes a look at UNICEF's efforts at handling the ugly trend and the health implications it could have on the children.
Thousands of children under the age of 18, referred to as child soldiers, are recruited and engaged to fight in armed conflicts across the world in what has become a regular routine. Some are allegedly abducted, threatened, forced or manipulated by militants to submit, while others give up their freedom due to poverty. But UNICEF says the recruitment of children by rebels or militant groups is a grave violation of the child rights and international humanitarian law. No reason is acceptable for such act. According to UNICEF, between 2005 and 2022, more than 105,000 children were recruited into armed conflicts. In 2018 alone, it says it links children and families to mental and psychological health services, catch-up educational classes, and vocational opportunities, responding to the needs of more than 13,000 child survivors. To find out the mental and psychological effects of the recruitment of child soldiers, I went after a consultant psychiatrist of the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos, Dr. Obatomi Alalade.
Over time, experiencing war or being drafted to war can lead to a lot of anxiety problems. So the individual is scared, is hearing the sound of guns, is hearing people cry or seeing blood, so that could lead to a lot of anxiety in the individuals, a lot of trauma. They could also come down with some depressive symptoms, They could start feeling sad, feeling hopeless, think about it that there's no future for them again because they've been involved in so many crimes or atrocities.
To live side by side with people who don't know anything about such arms, do you see them bringing in criminality?
As being a child soldier sometimes could involve looting, killing, stealing, and then lying, and over time increases crime rates in the individual. So by the time they are being rehabilitated, if it's not done properly, it increases criminality.
According to the psychiatrist, after freedom from captivity, girls recruited by rebellious militant groups to fight wars could come up with far-reaching mental, psychological, and marital challenges.
Apart from the rape, also if they get pregnant, in terms of giving birth to the children, it could be very traumatic. Again, apart from that, they could also go through depressive disorders because they are not happy. They finally get married to someone. A lot of patience is needed in understanding those individuals.
The mental health specialist has just made it very clear that child soldiers must be integrated and reintegrated into the society to avoid social anomalies. That is to say that countries experiencing militant aggressions like Nigeria must take note. Jacqueline Ogo, TVC News, Lagos.
Now let's bring in UNICEF Chief Field Officer Joseph Senesi. Mr. Senesi, thanks for joining us on the news this hour. The call for an end to the recruitment of child soldiers has been on for years now. Do you think there's a significant response?
Yes, thank you very much for having me here. As you mentioned, I'm Joseph Senesi. I'm the Acting Chief of Field Office in Maiduguri. The struggle of fight, against, having children in armed conflict has been ongoing. And UNICEF has been working with the government and its partners, both national and international agencies, to ensure it happens.
Absolutely. You are in a state with a history of battling insurgency. Has UNICEF had to deal with such issues as recruiting child soldiers, and what has been your strategy in this regard?
We are advocating. I'm working with the Nigerian government and the state authorities, including partners, to ensure children are not, part of the conflict, or also not even seen as perpetrators, rather seen as a child rights abuse against children when they are found in conflict situations, because most times they are being conscripted into this not by their own will. So UNICEF is doing all it can to ensure in the states where we are, in Maiduguri, for example, in the Bay States, Bono, Adamawa, and Yobe, particularly Bono and Yobe, to ensure that there is sensitization, to ensure that we have services given to families, to ensure that people who come out are given the care that they need, the psychosocial support they need, and we're having thousands of these.
But would you say that we've seen enforcement of sanctions on countries or persons who engage child soldiers?
I can't say countries, but individuals, yes. The UN Secretary General, as you know, we have sanctions of travel ban, assets seized, and so on. There are sanctions, and in different countries, not in Nigeria. Out of Nigeria, there are examples that do exist of that. But the UN is definitely working towards that to protect children, to ensure children are not part of conflict and they do not suffer from conflict, even though it happens. But the UN is working so much, and there are sanctions in place for that.
There are root causes such as poverty, lack of education, social marginalization, and religious indoctrination in some cases. I'm wondering how you think these factors can be dealt with.
And that is why we have various approaches. We're not just using one approach. There are various approaches, whether we go through religious leaders, whether we go through our programs that we implement to ensure these children are given services they can do that will enable them to live and survive, and also taking care of families and education. UNICEF, as you know, we are focusing not just on child protection issues, but we are doing health, we are doing education, we are also doing nutrition, we are doing emergency programs, we are doing various programs to ensure that all of these water and sanitation, education, child protection, health, and so on are services that will help families that have been, suffering from war, or even children that are part of conflict are having services that will enable them to come out and don't return and give them a brighter future.
Precisely, what will be your message? What message would you like to convey on Red Hand Day? How can individuals and communities, especially in Nigeria, support efforts to end child soldier recruitment?
Well, I'll go in two approaches. One, I'm requesting that we get more resources to enable UNICEF and its partners to carry out this mandate to ensure children and their families are safe. One. Two, the second one, I'm saying here that those engaged in conflict to leave the children alone. The children should not be part of conflict. They should not, hold arms, nor should they suffer from conflict, because it's not their making. And they are at that age. What can you do if you are given a gun, or somebody forced you into armed conflict, or somebody gives you a handout just so you to go and fight? Can that child decide at that age? No. So I'm appealing to all those involved in conflict, families, communities, all factions, to ensure children are safe, to ensure children are not part of conflict, and to ensure children are given the future that they deserve.
Joseph Senesi is Acting Chief of Field Office with UNICEF. Thank you for talking to us on the news this hour.
Thank you.